Young girl carried water on her head for hours. Today she owns a multinational beverage company. Maya woke when the sun was still just an orange promise on the horizon. Her arms ached, her tired legs protested, but she knew she had to go. The families in the neighborhood depended on her, and if she didn't fetch the water, many would go the entire day without anything to drink or cook with. That's when she heard the weak voice of her father coming from the next room. "Maya, sweetheart, you don't have to go today. Let me try." The 8-year-old girl stopped at the door, looking at the man lying on the thin mattress. Silas Thompson was only 32, but he looked twice that age. The illness nobody could quite explain was leaving him weaker and weaker. "Dad, you know you can't even carry an empty bucket. Stay put, I'll be back soon." "Your mother wouldn't want you doing this," he said. His voice choked. Maya felt a tightness in her chest. It had been 2 years since Clarissa had passed, leaving only memories and a huge hole in both their lives, but there was no time to think about that now. She grabbed the 2 dented metal buckets and went out onto the dirt road. The settlement of Dry Creek Valley was in the heart of Oklahoma, where drought was a constant companion, and water was worth more than gold. The nearest spring was almost 2 miles away, at a community well that never dried up completely, but also never had enough water for everyone. Maya had walked that path so many times she knew every stone, every curve of the dusty road. The beige dress she wore was faded and patched, but it was clean. She insisted on that. Even in poverty, she kept her dignity. When she reached the well, there was already a line of women and children. Mrs. Higgins, the closest neighbor, waved to her. "Good morning, Maya. You're early today." "Good morning, Mrs. Higgins. I have to make 3 trips today." "Mrs. Gable asked me to bring water for her too." "That girl's going to break her back," murmured another woman in line. Maya pretended not to hear. She was used to the comments, the pitying looks. What bothered her most was when they said she should be in school, as if she didn't know that, as if she had a choice. She filled the buckets to the brim and began the walk back. The sun was already higher, burning the brown skin of her arms. She had developed a special technique for balancing one bucket on her head while carrying another in her hand, alternating arms to distribute the fatigue. Along the way, her mind wandered. She thought about the classes she missed, the numbers and letters the teacher taught that she could only learn in bits and pieces, on the few occasions she managed to go to school. She had an old, half-torn notebook that she kept under her mattress. In it, she wrote down everything she managed to learn, everything she saw and heard. She made the first delivery at Mrs. Gable's house, a 68-year-old woman who lived alone and no longer had the strength to fetch water. "How much do I owe you, girl?" "Nothing, Mrs. Gable. You always gave us food when we had none." "Then take these biscuits I made yesterday. You're too skinny." Maya accepted them with a smile and headed home. She still had 2 trips to make. In the middle of the afternoon, when she was making the last trip of the day, a man stopped her on the path. It was Mr. Arthur Miller, owner of the local market and one of the few merchants who had any money in the settlement. "Maya, right? Silas's daughter." "Yes, sir." "I see you carrying water every day. I have a proposal for you." The girl stopped, curious but wary. "What proposal?" "I need water at the market. A lot of water. Customers complain the tap there is always dry. If you deliver 10 buckets a day to me, I'll pay you $2 per bucket." Maya quickly did the math in her head. $20 a day meant $140 per week. It was more money than her father saw in months. But then I'll have to make 5 trips instead of 3, and I won't be able to go to school any day. "School won't give you money to buy food and medicine for your father, girl. Think about it," she thought. She thought a lot. That night she talked to Silas. "Dad, Mr. Miller offered me money to bring water to his market." "I don't want you working like an adult, Maya. You have to study." "But we need the money, and I can study at night in my notebook." Silas closed his eyes, defeated. He knew his daughter was right. Without money, they could barely eat. How could he say no? "All right, but only until I get better and can go back to work." Maya agreed, but deep down she knew that improvement wasn't coming anytime soon. In the following days, she began waking up even earlier. She made the first trip before sunrise, taking advantage of the coolness of the early morning. Each trip took almost an hour round trip, plus the waiting time in line at the well. Her hands became calloused, her shoulders ached constantly, but she didn't complain. With the money she earned, she bought better food, medicine from the pharmacy in the neighboring town. Silas seemed to improve a bit, able to sit in the rocking chair in front of the house for a few hours each day. Maya kept part of the money in an old cookie tin she buried in the backyard, under the dry guava tree. No one knew about it, not even her father. It was her secret, her guarantee for the future. But the future arrived faster and more cruelly than she expected. 3 months after starting to work for Mr. Miller, Maya returned from one of the trips and found the house turned upside down. Silas was sitting on the floor, head down. "Dad, what happened?" "Maya, I needed the money." "What money?" "The money you saved. I found the tin." The girl's heart raced. She ran to the backyard, dug under the guava tree. The tin was there, but empty. "Dad, there were $120 there. I was saving it to buy a water filter so we could sell clean water and earn more." "I'm sorry, daughter, but a man showed up here, said he had a medicine that would really cure me, a special treatment made with herbs from Appalachia. He needed the $120. "And where is the medicine?" Silas pointed to the table. There were 3 small dark glass bottles with a greenish liquid inside. "He told me to take a spoonful 3 times a day for a month." Maya picked up one of the bottles, uncorked it, and smelled it. It was just water with some random herb, nothing that would cure any illness. "You were tricked, Dad." "Don't say that. The man was serious. He even had a white coat." Anyone can wear a white coat. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out, now continuing. That night, Maya cried for the first time in months. She cried from anger, from frustration, from exhaustion. But when day broke, she dried her tears and went back to work. There was no time for lamenting. She started all over again, bucket by bucket, trip by trip, coin by coin. But now she was more attentive, smarter. She noticed that some people paid more for the water when she arrived earlier, before the sun got hot. She noticed she could charge a little more for fast delivery. It was during one of these morning trips that Maya made the discovery that would change everything. She had taken a different path, a shortcut through the rocky area that most people avoided because it was steep and dangerous. That's when she heard the sound of running water. She followed the noise and found a small spring hidden among the rocks. The water was crystal clear, so clean you could see the bottom. She tasted it. It was cold and had a mild taste, much better than the water from the community well. Maya sat on a rock and thought. That spring was a treasure. If she could use that water, she could charge more, offer superior quality. But there was a problem. That area belonged to someone. She soon discovered the owner was Elias Thorne, a farmer who owned land scattered all over the settlement. He was known for being tough in negotiations and not tolerating trespassers on his property. Maya needed a week to gather her courage. One Saturday afternoon, she washed her face, combed her curly hair as best she could, and went to Mr. Thorne's big house. The maid who answered the door looked her up and down with contempt. "What do you want?" "I need to speak with Mr. Thorne. It's about the spring in his rocky area. He doesn't see people like that without an appointment. Please, it's important." The woman was about to close the door when a deep voice came from inside the house. "Who is it, Martha?" "Some girl here wanting to talk about some spring or other." Mr. Thorne appeared at the door. He was a tall man, about 50, with graying hair and a penetrating gaze. He assessed Maya for a few seconds. "What spring?" "The one in your rocky area near the hill. I found it a week ago." "And what does a girl like you want with my spring?" "I want to use the water for work. I carry water to sell, and the water from there is much better than the well water. If you let me use it, I can pay." Thorne let out a dry laugh. "Pay? With what money is a barefoot girl going to pay me? I make $20 a day carrying water for Mr. Miller. I can give you $5 a week." $5? He shook his head. "Do you know what good water is worth in the Dust Bowl? Much more than that." Maya swallowed hard but didn't look away. "Then what do you want?" Thorne was silent for a moment, thoughtful. "You work hard, girl. I've seen that. I've been noticing you pass by every day carrying buckets. So here's what I'll do. You can use the spring, but in return you'll work for me 3 days a week. There's a piece of land over there where I want to plant some vegetables, and I need someone to water and tend it. But I already work every day carrying water. Then work more. Life isn't easy for anyone. Do you want the water or not? Maya did the math in her head. 3 days working for Thorne meant fewer trips for Mr. Miller, less money. But if she could sell better water, maybe she could charge more and make up for it. I accept. Then show up Monday morning, and don't be late. In the following days, Maya's routine became even more grueling. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, she woke up at 4 in the morning to work in Mr. Thorne's vegetable garden. She watered the plants, pulled weeds, prepared the soil. Only after that would she go fetch water from the spring and make her deliveries. The work was hard, but she began to notice something interesting. Mrs. Sterling, Thorne's wife, sometimes appeared in the garden to check on the plants. She was a woman different from her husband, more delicate and observant. One morning, while Maya was watering the lettuce plants, Mrs. Sterling approached. "Do you know how to read, girl?" "A little, ma'am, but I don't go to school much." "Why not?" "I need to work. My father is sick." Sterling was silent for a moment, watching the girl work with care and attention. "You have a way with plants. I see you water at the right times. Let the water trickle just right so it doesn't get too soaked." "My mother had a little garden. She taught me before she left." "I see." Sterling sat on a small wooden stool. "You know, I was a teacher before marrying Thorne. I taught at the town's grade school. I miss that." Maya continued watering but paid attention to every word. "It must be good to teach." "It is. Seeing the children learning, growing." She sighed. "If you'd like, I can teach you a few things. When you come to work here, before going to the garden, stop by the house. A half-hour lesson won't delay your work." Maya's heart raced. "Really, ma'am? Really? But don't tell Silas. He thinks it's foolish to teach a poor girl, says it's a waste of time." "I won't say a word, I promise." And so began Maya's secret education. 3 times a week she would arrive at the big house before the sun was fully up, enter through the kitchen door, and sit at the table with Mrs. Sterling. She learned to read better, to write with a nice hand, to do harder sums. Mrs. Sterling brought old books she had saved, new notebooks, sharpened pencils. Maya absorbed everything like a dry sponge absorbs water. She smuggled the materials home inside her blouse, studying at night by candlelight while her father slept. But secrets are hard to keep in the dust bowl, where everyone knows everyone and nothing goes unnoticed. It was Martha, the maid, who told Mr. Thorne. She had seen Maya entering through the kitchen several times and grew suspicious. One morning, she peeked through a crack in the door and saw Sterling teaching the girl. Mr. Thorne exploded. "You're wasting your time teaching this girl? Do you have any idea how ridiculous that is?" "She's smart, Silas. She learns fast." "I don't care. She's here to work, not to study. A poor girl has to accept her place." "Her place is wherever she wants to go." "Enough of this teacher talk. I don't want to see you giving lessons to a maid anymore." Maya, who was in the vegetable garden and heard everything, felt her chest tighten. Once again, something good was being taken from her. But when she left that day, Mrs. Sterling grabbed her by the arm. "Take this." She handed her a bag with all the books and notebooks. "Study on your own. You can do it, and if you have any questions, ask me when he's not around. But go, before he sees." Maya took the bag and hid everything under her mattress at home. That night she began to study alone. It was harder, but not impossible. She had determination, and that was worth more than 1,000 teachers. With the spring water, her business began to grow. Mr. Miller's customers noticed the difference and started asking where that good water came from. Soon, Maya had a list of people wanting to buy directly from her. That's when she had the bottle idea. She realized carrying water in a bucket was practical for those who lived nearby, but limited. If she could bottle the water, she could sell farther away to more people. She started collecting old soda bottles people threw away, washed them carefully, filled them with spring water and sold them for $1 each. The idea was a success. People liked the convenience, being able to keep the water in the refrigerator always having a clean bottle at home. In no time, Maya had more customers than she could handle. Mr. Miller didn't like this one bit. "You're stealing my customers, girl." "I'm not stealing anything, Mr. Miller. Everyone buys from whoever they want. That's not how it works. You work for me. I work and I get paid for the work. But what I do on my own time is my business." The merchant narrowed his eyes, irritated. "Fine, then you don't need to work for me anymore. You're fired." Maya had been expecting that. In fact, she didn't need his money anymore. With the bottles, she earned more. But Mr. Miller didn't stop there. He started spreading rumors that Maya's water was dirty, that it came from a questionable place, that it had made people sick. The lies spread fast, and within a few days, Maya's clientele plummeted. She was desperate. She tried to explain, to show the water was clean, but people were afraid. A rumor in the dust bowl spreads faster than dry grass. It was Mrs. Gable who gave the solution. "Girl, there's a health clinic in the next town over. Take a sample of your water there. Ask the nurse to test it. If you get a paper saying it's clean, people will believe it." Maya caught a bus the next day. She took 3 bottles of her water and went to the health clinic in Enid, a town 20 kilometers away. The nurse who attended to her was a young man about 25 years old named Ethan. "What can I do for you, little one?" "I wanted you to test this water. I need to know if it's good to drink." "Why?" Maya explained the whole situation. Ethan listened carefully and in the end agreed to help. "But it'll take a few days. I need to send it to a lab in the capital." "That's fine. I'll wait." They were the longest days of Maya's life. Unable to sell water, she had to go back to doing odd jobs here and there to get money. Silas got worse again, needing more expensive medicine. A week later, Ethan sent word for Maya to come to the clinic. She ran there, her heart in her throat. So? Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. The water is clean. In fact, cleaner than the city's treated water. Look at the report here. Maya took the paper with both hands, trembling. It was all there, stamped and signed. Potable water, free of contamination, recommended for consumption. "Can I keep this?" "It's yours. And look, if you want some advice, make copies of this report. Show it to anyone who tries to doubt your water." That's exactly what she did. She went to a stationery store, paid $3 to make 10 copies of the report. She showed it to every customer, every neighbor, every person who had heard the rumors from Mr. Miller. Within a few days, she not only got her old customers back, but gained many new ones. The fame of the clean, tested water spread, and people from nearby settlements started showing up wanting to buy. Maya needed help. She called 3 kids from the neighborhood who were in the same situation as her, poor, needing to work, unable to go to school properly. She taught them how to fetch the water, how to wash the bottles, how to make the deliveries. But she did it differently from Mr. Miller. She paid a fair price, let the kids study in the morning and work only in the afternoon, and divided the profits equally. At 13, Maya was no longer just a girl carrying water. She was a little businesswoman, managing other children, controlling inventory, doing sums in notebooks full of numbers. That's when Silas's illness took a turn for the worse. He fainted one Sunday afternoon. Maya called Mrs. Gable, who called other neighbors. They all agreed. He needed to go to the hospital in the capital. He needed tests, real doctors. Maya looked at her savings. She had $300 saved after months of hard work. It wasn't much, but it was all she had. "I'm taking him." "Maya, that money is your future," said Mrs. Gable. "My father is my future. Without him, I have nothing." They caught a bus on Monday morning. Oklahoma City was far. The trip took almost 4 hours. Silas drifted in and out of consciousness, sweating coldly, moaning softly. At the hospital, the doctors ran tests, ordered more tests, admitted Silas. Maya slept in a chair in the hallway, ate what she could buy with the little money she had, prayed to every saint she knew. 3 days later, a doctor called her to talk. "Is your mother here?" "My mother passed years ago. It's just me." The doctor sighed. "Your father has a serious kidney infection. We need to treat it with specific medicine, do some procedures. It will cost around $2,000. Maya felt the floor disappear beneath her feet. I don't have that money. Do you have family? Someone who can help? There's no one. The doctor scratched his head, thoughtful. Look, I'll see what I can do, but you need to come up with at least part of that money. Maya left the hospital and walked the streets of Oklahoma City without direction. For the first time in a long while, she felt truly lost. How was she going to get $2,000? She passed by a church, went in, sat on a wooden bench and closed her eyes. She wasn't much for praying, but at that moment she needed something. Someone. That's when she felt someone sit beside her. She opened her eyes and saw an elderly woman, about 70 years old, with a rosary in her hands. Are you all right, child? No, Mum, nothing is all right. And Maya broke down. She told her everything. Her sick father, the money she didn't have, the hard work since childhood, the water, the bottles, everything. The woman listened in silence, nodding her head from time to time. How old are you? 13. 13 years old and already working like an adult, she sighed. You know, I had a daughter your age. She was strong and brave too. She passed 5 years ago. I'm so sorry. That's life. The woman took Maya's hand. Look, I can't give you the $2,000 you need, but I can give you $500. It's what I have saved. No, ma'am, I can't accept it. Yes, you can. My daughter would have wanted me to help someone like you. Take it. She took an envelope from her pocket. And don't give up. People like you can't give up. The world needs people like that. Maya accepted the envelope with tears in her eyes. $500. She still needed $1,500 more, but it was a start. She returned to Dry Creek Valley that same afternoon. She left her father in the hospital with the promise she'd be back soon with the money. She had an idea, but it was risky. She gathered the 3 children who worked with her. I need your help. She explained the situation. She proposed they work double for the next 2 weeks, that they sell as much water as possible. All her profit would go to pay for her father's treatment, but later she would make up for their work. We're with you, Maya, said Joey, a 10-year-old boy who was the oldest of the group. Your father helped my mother when she needed it. Now we help you. They worked like condemned souls. They woke before the sun, slept after the moon. They bottled and sold more water in those 2 weeks than in the 3 previous months. They went door to door, offered discounts for bulk purchases, ran promotions. But in the middle of this whirlwind, something happened that Maya didn't expect. Joey disappeared on a Thursday afternoon. He took with him the money box that was hidden in Maya's house. Inside were $400. The news spread fast. They found Joey 2 days later in the neighboring town. He had spent part of the money on silly things and lost the rest in a card game that grown men convinced him to join. Maya went to get him. She looked at the boy, saw him crying, apologizing. I didn't mean to, Maya. They said I'd win a lot of money, that it would multiply. They said I could help you more. She was furious, disappointed, but she also saw in him the same desperation she had often felt. You messed up bad, Joey. I know. But I'm not giving up on you. You'll work with me again, but now with clear rules. No handling money, everything controlled in a notebook. And you'll learn to manage things right so you're never fooled by anyone again. Joey agreed, and Maya kept her promise. She created a control system, writing down every bit of money coming in and going out, every bottle sold, every penny earned. She taught the other children to do the same. She learned this from the books Mrs. Sterling had given her. Books about how to run small businesses, how to control finances. She read at night, applied it by day. After 3 weeks, she had saved up $1,800. With the $500 from the church lady, it made the $2,300 the hospital asked for. She went back to Oklahoma City, paid for the treatment, stayed another week waiting for Silas to recover enough to go home. When they finally returned to Dry Creek Valley, Maya had lost almost a month of work. She thought everything would be falling apart, that the customers would have given up, but the opposite happened. The people in the settlement, knowing the situation, had kept buying water from the other children. More than that, they had collected money to help. When Maya got off the bus with her father, she found a line of people at her door. Mrs. Gable was the first to speak. "We collected. It's not much, but it's enough for you to start over." It was an envelope with $150. Maya cried. She cried from gratitude, from emotion, from relief. For the first time she understood she wasn't alone, that she had a community, that she had people who cared. Silas improved little by little. He didn't return to what he was before, but he could help around the house, do light chores, and most importantly, give emotional support to his daughter. Maya returned to work with renewed strength. She was almost 14 now, and her little water business was already known in 3 neighboring settlements. But she knew she needed to really grow if she wanted a better future. That's when she had a conversation with Ethan, the nurse who had helped test the water. "Have you ever thought about bottling it properly? With a label, a sealed cap, everything just right? I've thought about it, but I don't know how. I know a guy in Oklahoma City who works with that. He does artisanal bottling for small producers. I can introduce you if you want." "I do." A week later, Maya was in Oklahoma City again, this time at the small factory of Mr. Harvey Vance, a 60-year-old man who had started as a cachaça bottler and now worked with various products. "Water, huh?" He scratched his chin. "The market is full of water, but not water like mine. It's a natural spring from the Dust Bowl, clean, tested. It has a report and everything." "Let me see that report." Maya showed it. Harvey read it carefully. "This is good. High purity." He looked at the girl. "But professional bottling is expensive. You need your own bottle, cap, label, washing machine, filling machine. We're talking about an initial investment of around $5,000. Maya felt her stomach turn. $5,000. It was more than she had saved in her entire life. "I don't have that money." "I figured." Harvey leaned back in his chair. "But I'll make you a proposal. Work for me here at the factory. Learn the process, understand how it works. I'll pay you a salary, and you can save up. When you have the money, we'll go into partnership. I'll provide the structure, you provide the water and the brand." "But I live far away. I can't come every day." "There's a room in the back here I use for storage. You can live there during the week, go back to your settlement on the weekend. How about it?" Maya thought of Silas, of the children who worked with her, of everything she would have to leave behind. But she also thought of the future, of the possibilities. "I accept, but the children who work with me, they keep selling there in the settlement. I'll send the water, and they'll distribute it, and part of the profit is theirs." "Deal." And so Maya moved to Oklahoma City. During the week, she worked at Harvey's factory, learning every step of the bottling process. On the weekend, she returned to Dry Creek Valley, helped organize the sales, fetched water from the spring to send back to the city. It was tiring, it was hard, but she was learning. And Maya loved to learn. Harvey was a good teacher. He showed her not only the technical part, but also the administrative side. He taught her to calculate costs, to set prices, to negotiate with suppliers. "Business isn't just about having a good product," he would say. "You have to know how to sell, you have to understand the numbers, you have to know the market." Maya absorbed everything. She kept studying at night, now with books Harvey lent her about administration and entrepreneurship. When she turned 16, she had learned the whole process and saved $4,000. She was $1,000 short of the initial investment. That's when an unexpected problem happened. Businessmen in the industry began to pressure Harvey. They offered to buy his factory for a low price. When he refused, the problems started, suppliers cancelling contracts, clients being approached with better offers, even veiled threats. "They want to push me out of the market," Harvey explained to Maya. "They don't like a small guy competing with the big ones." "And you're going to give up?" "It's not about giving up. It's about survival. If I lose the suppliers, I can't produce anything." Maya thought quickly. She remembered everything she had learned, all the difficulties she had faced. "What if we go directly to the manufacturers, bypass the distributors who are boycotting you?" "Manufacturers don't sell to small operations. They only work with large volume. Then we team up with other small producers, form a cooperative. Each one buys a little, but together it becomes a large volume." Harvey looked at the girl with admiration. "You have a knack for this, you know?" In the following months, Maya and Harvey visited other small producers in the region, bottlers of honey, of moonshine, of artisanal juices. They proposed the cooperative idea, buying raw materials together, negotiating better prices, supporting each other. 10 producers agreed. They formed the Oklahoma Artisans Guild. Maya, despite being the youngest, was chosen as secretary. She had a gift for organizing, keeping the books in order, mediating conflicts. With the cooperative, they managed not only to resist the pressure from the big players, but also to thrive. Sales increased, costs decreased, and each producer was able to grow. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to leave a like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now continuing. At 17, Maya finally had the full amount of money to invest in the professional bottling of her water. Harvey kept his promise, and they formed a partnership. Maya's Crystal Springs, artisanal production from the Oklahoma Dust Bowl. The first bottles came off the line one October morning. Maya held one of them, looked at it against the light. The crystalline liquid shimmered inside the clear glass. The blue and white label had a drawing of a spring among rocks, and below the name she had chosen, Maya's Prairie Spring, High Plains Purity. "It looks good," said Harvey. "Now we sell." And selling was easier than they expected. The story of Maya, the girl who carried water on her head and now had her own product, spread. Journalists came to do stories, radio programs interviewed her, even a local television station did a report. Sales exploded. From 100 bottles a week they went to 500, then 1,000, then 3,000. They needed to hire more people, buy more equipment, rent a larger space. But success brought new challenges. Larger businessmen began to copy the idea. They launched waters with similar stories, similar labels, trying to confuse the consumer. Some even tried to buy Maya's brand for laughable sums. There was one in particular, Victor Sterling, owner of a beverage company that was already big in the state. He showed up at the factory one day with a purchase offer. $50,000 for the brand and the formula, he said, as if he were doing a favor. "The water doesn't have a formula. It's natural from the spring. And it's not for sale. You don't understand business, girl. 50,000 is a lot of money for someone your age. I do understand business, and I know my brand is worth much more than that. Not just because of the product, but because of the story, the connection with people. You're not buying water, you're trying to buy my life. And that's priceless." Victor laughed, but it was a humorless laugh. "All right, you'll see what it's like to compete with someone who has real structure." And he made good on his threat. He launched a water at a price well below market value, running aggressive promotions in supermarkets. Maya's sales plummeted. Mr. Harvey Vance was worried. "He's selling at a loss just to break you. When you shut down, he'll raise the price again and dominate the market. Then we can't compete on price." "What do you mean?" "We compete on value. Show the customer that our water is different, that it has a story, that it has a social commitment. People who buy from us aren't just buying water, they're buying the chance to be part of a change." Maya had an idea. She created a program where part of the profit from each bottle sold went to an education fund for children from the Dust Bowl. She created scholarships, donated school supplies, renovated schools. More than that, she started taking customers to visit Dry Creek Valley, to see the spring, to meet the children who still worked distributing water in the village. She turned the story into an experience. The strategy worked. People who bought Maya's Prairie Spring, High Plains Purity, knew exactly where their money was going. They saw the real impact. It wasn't just a commercial transaction, it was an act of solidarity. Sales began to grow again, stronger than before. Victor Sterling tried to copy the strategy, creating his own social program, but it was too late. People had already made their choice. When Maya turned 20, Maya's Prairie Spring, High Plains Purity, was available in 5 states in the Appalachia region. It had an efficient distribution structure, a team of 30 employees, and annual revenue of $2 million. Silas, now 50 and recovered, worked as the company's social projects manager. He was the one who visited the communities, who decided where to invest, who ensured the money was being well spent. But Maya knew she had a ceiling. To grow further, she needed heavy investment. She needed someone who believed in the project without wanting to destroy it. That's when she met Evelyn Harrington. Evelyn was 65 and known as one of the smartest investors in Appalachia. She had made a fortune investing in small businesses with potential and helping them grow. But she was demanding, only investing in companies with a clear purpose and serious management. She asked to meet with Maya after hearing about Maya's Prairie Spring, High Plains Purity on a radio program. "Tell me your story," was the first thing Evelyn said when they sat down in a coffee shop in Oklahoma City. Maya told it. Without embellishment, without exaggeration, the 8-year-old girl carrying water, the sick father, the hardships, the discoveries, the failures, the victories. Evelyn listened to everything in silence, taking notes in a small notebook. "How much do you need?" $500,000. It's what's necessary to expand production, enter new markets, improve logistics. "And what do you offer in return?" 20% of the company. "But with a few conditions. I maintain total control over decisions regarding the social side of the business, and you cannot sell your share without offering it to me first." Evelyn closed the notebook. 30%. 25. "It's my final offer." The investor smiled. "You negotiate well for someone who never went to college." "I learned by doing. Life was my school." "I accept. 25% for $500,000. But I'm not a passive investor. I will question, I will suggest, I will pull your ear when necessary." "Deal. But I also don't accept blind orders. If I disagree with something, I'll speak up." That's how it should be. With Evelyn's investment, Maya's Prairie Spring, High Plains Purity entered a new phase. They bought modern equipment, increased production capacity, hired professionals specialized in marketing and distribution. But they kept the essence. Each bottle still had the story printed on the label. Each profit was still partially reinvested in social projects. Each decision still took into account the impact on the communities. At 23, Maya was invited to speak at an entrepreneurship seminar in New York City. It was the first time she would leave Appalachia, the first time she would board a plane. She got nervous. Evelyn noticed. "You've faced much worse things than a speech." "I know, but there will be important people there. People who studied at famous universities, and I barely finished high school. They have degrees. You have experience. That's worth much more." Maya took the stage and spoke for 40 minutes. She told her story, talked about the challenges of starting a business in the Dust Bowl, about the importance of creating businesses with a social purpose. When she finished, she received a standing ovation. Several people approached her afterward, wanting to learn more about the company, wanting to form partnerships. It was there that she met Robert Chen, an executive from one of the country's largest supermarket chains. "I would like to distribute your water in our stores," he said. "That's 1,200 stores spread across the country." Maya almost choked. 1,200. "Yes, but first I need to visit your operation, see the product's origin, understand the complete supply chain." A week later, Robert was in Dry Creek Valley. Maya took him to see the spring, introduced him to the people in the community, showed him the schools the company had helped renovate. Robert was impressed not only with the product, but with the entire model. "I've never seen anything like this. Total transparency, real social impact, quality product. It's exactly the type of partnership we want." They negotiated for 2 weeks. Robert wanted exclusivity. Maya wouldn't accept it. Robert wanted control over prices. Maya refused. They were tough but respectful fights. In the end, they reached an agreement that benefited both without Maya losing the essence of the business. When the first bottles of Maya's Prairie Spring water arrived on the supermarket chain's shelves in June of 2015, Maya was 25. Within 3 months, the product was among the top 10 best sellers in the mineral water category. The company's annual revenue jumped to $30 million. The structure grew. A new factory, more employees, partnerships with other Dust Bowl communities that had similar springs. But the growth brought problems Maya hadn't foreseen. Major beverage corporations began to see Maya's Prairie Spring no longer as a regional curiosity, but as a real threat. They started more aggressive price wars, attempted hostile takeovers, even negative campaigns questioning the product's quality. The most serious was when a major national magazine published an article suggesting that Maya's water wasn't as pure as claimed. It was based on tests from a lab that, Maya later discovered, had ties to competitors. Sales plummeted 20% in 1 month. Customers called worried. Distributors threatened to cancel contracts. Maya gathered the team. "We're not going to get into a media war. We're going to do something different. We're going to invite journalists, influencers, even the critics to come here. They'll see with their own eyes where the water comes from, how the process is done, the tests we run." Evelyn thought it was risky. What if one of them publishes something bad even after coming here? Then it's because we have something bad to hide, and we don't. They did what Maya proposed. They invited 20 journalists from different outlets. They paid for travel, lodging, food. They showed everything, hiding nothing. The result was a series of positive reports, many of them flatly refuting the previous accusations. But more than that, they built a genuine relationship with the press. The journalists realized it wasn't just a company selling a product. It was a movement transforming communities. Sales not only recovered but grew beyond expectations. At 28, Maya received an offer that made her rethink everything. An American multinational offered $200 million for the entire company. It was enough money for her and her family to live comfortably for the rest of their lives, to fund as many social projects as she wanted. She spent weeks thinking. She talked with Silas, with Evelyn, with Mr. Vance, with Mrs. Sterling, who was still her informal advisor. "What does your heart say?" asked Silas. "It says I built this with blood, sweat, and tears. It says every bottle sold represents not just money, but transformation, hope, proof that it's possible to start from the bottom and go far without losing your essence." "Then you already have your answer." Maya refused the offer, but she made a counter-proposal, a partnership for international expansion, with her remaining as CEO and retaining majority control. The Americans agreed. Maya's Prairie Spring began to be exported to countries in Latin America, first Canada and Mexico, then Brazil and Australia. The story of the girl from the Dust Bowl who built an empire resonated in places where the reality of poverty and hardship was similar. In every country they entered, Maya made a point of creating partnerships with local communities, replicating the social impact model she had developed in Brazil. By 30, Maya's Prairie Spring was present in 8 countries, had 3,000 employees, and earned $500 million annually. Maya was on the cover of business magazines, was invited to international events, and received entrepreneurship awards. But what made her proudest wasn't in the numbers. It was the schools she had helped build. It was the children who now studied full-time because their families had sufficient income. It was the young people working at the company who were attending college. It was her father, healthy and happy, managing life-changing projects. It was Mrs. Sterling, whom she had hired as education coordinator for the foundation she created. It was Mr. Vance, who had become an advisor and a father figure. It was Evelyn, who had believed when many doubted. One April morning, Maya woke before sunrise. She had the day free, a rare thing. She decided to return to Dry Creek Valley, not to work, but just to visit. She walked to the spring where it all began. 22 years ago, she had discovered that source of crystal-clear water and seen in it an opportunity. Today, that discovery had become so much more than she had imagined. She sat on the same rock where she had sat as a child. The water kept flowing, pure and constant, as always. She heard footsteps behind her. It was Silas. "I knew I'd find you here. I missed this place." He sat beside his daughter. "Your mother would be proud." Maya smiled. "Sometimes I wonder how it would have been if she had stayed, if it would have been different." "It would have, but not necessarily better. You became who you are because of the hardships, not in spite of them. Do you think it was worth it, all the suffering?" Silas looked at his daughter. The skinny, barefoot girl who carried heavy buckets had become a strong, determined, successful woman. Look around, see these new houses, these children going to school with clean uniforms and backpacks, this health clinic you helped build? Worth it isn't even the right question. The question is, how many lives have you changed? And the answer is thousands. Maya stood up, extended her hand to her father. Shall we? Mrs. Gable must be making that sweet cornbread you like. Let's go. They walked together down the dirt road that wasn't so dirt anymore, having been partially paved thanks to the development the region had seen in recent years. They passed by the new school, large and well-equipped. Maya remembered the ramshackle little schoolhouse where she had studied in fits and starts as a child. How many dreams had begun in those new classrooms? They passed by the health clinic. Ethan, the nurse who had helped test the first water sample, was now the director of the unit. He waved to them from the window. They arrived at the house Maya had built for them a few years back. It wasn't a mansion, but it was comfortable, with spacious bedrooms, a modern kitchen, even a small library she had insisted on having. Mrs. Gable was indeed making sweet cornbread. The smell filled the house. It was about time. Zzz. The cornbread was almost burning. They sat at the table, ate cornbread, drank coffee. It was a simple, common scene, but loaded with meaning. Years ago, days like these were rare, days where there was enough food, where there was no immediate worry, where they could simply be together. Maya looked out the window. She saw children playing in the street, children who didn't have to carry water, who could just be children. Her phone rang. It was Evelyn. Maya, sorry to call on your day off, but I received a proposal I think you'll want to know about. What proposal? An international university wants you to teach about social entrepreneurship. Twice a month it can be online. They pay well, Maya thought. To teach, to pass on everything she had learned. I accept. But on one condition. Besides the university classes, I want to give free talks at public schools. I want kids like I was to know it's possible. I already imagined you'd say that. Don't worry, I'll arrange it. She hung up the phone and returned to the table. Silas looked at her with that proud smile he never tired of seeing. More work. There's always more work. But now it's work that isn't about money. It's about showing that it doesn't matter where you come from, it matters where you want to go and how hard you're willing to work to get there. Getting philosophical, Doctor. They laughed together. The following months brought a different routine for Maya. She continued managing the company, but now she also taught classes and gave talks. She discovered she liked teaching as much as she liked entrepreneurship. She saw in the students' eyes the same spark she had seen in her own eyes when Mrs. Sterling taught her in the kitchen before sunrise. The hunger for knowledge, the desire for change, the refusal to accept limitations imposed by one's origin. At one of these talks in Oklahoma City, a girl of about 10 approached her at the end. Ma'am, my mum sends me to sell water at the market. We're poor, but I want to be a businesswoman like you. Maya knelt to be at the girl's height. What's your name? Grace. Grace, you will be whatever you want. You know why? Because you already want to, and wanting is the first step. But you have to do more than want. You have to work, you have to study, you have to persist when everyone says you can't. Were you poor like me too? I was. Very poor. I carried water on my head since I was 8. And now you're rich? Maya thought about the question. Rich. What did that mean? Now, I have enough. And you know the best part about having enough? It's being able to help those who still don't. Grace smiled. When I grow up, I'm going to do that too. That conversation stayed in Maya's head for days. It was precisely for children like Grace that she worked so hard, that she insisted on keeping the social side of the business, even when advisors suggested focusing only on profit. It was then that she decided to take the next step. She created a social business incubator. Young entrepreneurs from underprivileged communities could apply to receive mentorship, seed funding, and structure to develop their ideas. The first group had 20 young people, among them stories as hard or harder than the ones Maya herself had lived. Orphans, former homeless people, young people who had been through prison and wanted to start over. Maya dedicated one day a week to being with them, to listening to their ideas, to helping polish projects, to teaching what she knew. Out of 25 businesses thrived in the first year. a community bakery, a seamstresses cooperative, a creative recycling company, a home renovation service, and a handmade sweets production. They weren't big businesses in numbers, but they were giants in impact. They generated income for dozens of families, got young people off the streets, proved that opportunity and guidance could transform destinies. Maya followed each case closely. She remembered her own mistakes, the moments she had almost given up, the times when just a word of encouragement had made a difference. It was at a meeting with these young entrepreneurs that she received the news. Maya's Prairie Spring had been chosen as one of the 100 most innovative companies in Latin America. She was going to receive an international award in Cape Town, South Africa. The young people celebrated more than she did. For them, Maya's success was living proof that it was possible. On the night of the award in Cape Town, Maya took the stage wearing a simple but elegant dress. She had no expensive jewelry, no heavy makeup. She was herself, authentic. She received the trophy from the hands of the president of the organization giving the award. Maya Thompson, from the small Dry Creek Valley to the CEO of a multinational. Tell us, what is the secret of your success? Maya took the microphone. There is no secret. There is hard work. There is persistence. There is the courage not to accept that your origin defines your destiny. But mainly, there is memory. Remembering where I come from keeps me from forgetting why I do what I do. Every bottle of water I sell is a reminder of the 8-year-old girl who carried heavy buckets and dreamed of a better future. And now that I've achieved that future, my duty is to open paths so others can achieve it too. The speech received a standing ovation. Journalists surrounded her afterward wanting interviews. Businessmen wanted to form partnerships. But Maya only thought about returning home, to the Dust Bowl, to the people who really mattered. When she returned to the US, a surprise awaited her. Dry Creek Valley had organized a party in her honor. The main square was decorated. There was food for everyone, live music. It felt like a patron saint festival day. Maya got out of the car and was greeted with applause. Children ran to hug her. Adults greeted her. Elders blessed her. On the makeshift stage, the mayor gave a speech. Maya Thompson is a daughter of this land. She was born here, grew up here, suffered here. But she never forgot this place. Everything she achieved, she shared with us, the schools, the health clinic, the jobs she brought. She is proof that we don't need to leave to succeed. We can succeed and return. We can succeed and stay. We can succeed and bring others along. Maya stepped onto the stage, her eyes brimming with tears. I didn't do anything alone. Every person here contributed in some way. Mrs. Gable, who gave me food when I had none. Mr. Thorne and Mrs. Sterling, who gave me an opportunity. Mrs. Higgins, who never let my father go without water when I couldn't fetch it. All of you who bought the first bottle, who believed, who spread the word. This award isn't mine. It's ours. The party lasted all night. Maya danced square dance with her father, talked with every person who wanted to speak to her, took pictures with children who saw her as a hero. But what moved her most was seeing 3 generations together. Elders who had seen her grow up, adults who had grown up with her, children who were growing up in a better world thanks to what they had built together. Mrs. Sterling, now 83 but still sharp and active, pulled Maya to a quieter corner of the party. Remember when I taught you to read hiding from my husband? How could I forget? It changed my life. I was the one who should be thanking you. I never had children. I always felt something was missing. But watching you grow, learn, succeed, it was like having the daughter I never had. The two hugged, cried together. You know Mr. Thorne regretted it, right? Said Sterling. Before he passed, he asked me to tell you he was wrong to try and stop you from studying. I forgave that a long time ago. He gave me work when I needed it, taught me important things about handling land and plants. Everyone who passes through our life teaches us something, even if not in the way we expect. The party went on until dawn. When the last guest had left and the square finally fell silent, Maya walked to the house where she had grown up. The house was no longer there. In its place, she had built a community center. But the guava tree from the backyard was still there, now big and leafy, bearing fruit every year. She sat beneath it in the same spot where she had buried the first can with money that her father later spent on fake medicine. She remembered that night, the despair she felt, the urge to give up. If she had known back then that 20 years later she'd be there, the owner of a multinational company, would she have believed it? Probably not, but she wouldn't have changed anything either. Every mistake, every disappointment, every hardship had been necessary to build not just the business, but the person she had become. Silas appeared and sat beside her. Feeling nostalgic? A little. Thinking about everything that happened. And if you could go back, would you change anything? Maya thought for a long time before answering. I'd change you not getting sick. I'd change Mom not leaving. But other than that, no. All the hardships were teachers. They taught me to be strong, to be fair, to never give up. You've become more than I ever dreamed. I learned from you. Even sick, even with no money, you never gave up on me. You never treated me as less for being a child or for being a girl. You let me dream. End of story. And you? What did you think of this story? Where are you following from? Maya had to face many hardships from childhood, carrying water to support her family, but she never gave up on her dreams. Do you think she made the right decisions by refusing million-dollar offers to keep control and the essence of her business? Leave your honest opinion in the comments. We love reading every one of your messages. Thank you so much for your company up to this point. Don't forget to leave your like and, most importantly, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other emotional and inspiring stories like this one.